Namaste, I'm Nikita. Today I'm going to talk about suppressing and processing. Many of us, unfortunately, do suppress our emotions. What does this mean? When we feel something, we sometimes neglect understanding what we're feeling. This could be because we're too busy, we don't have time, or because we don't want to dive into something which is then going to open a can of worms, as the saying goes. So instead, what we do is we push that emotion back down. So for example, if we feel frustration, maybe we're frustrated because there's a traffic jam or because the shopkeeper's being really slow, we might start to feel frustration. This may even turn into anger, so that's an emotion. There are obviously different levels of anger, but you might just find yourself being irritated, losing your tolerance. So rather than being curious about that, what we do is instead we just get on with it. Maybe we'll say, I'm going to take a different route, I'm going to go this way in the traffic jam, or we say, I'm just going to leave it, I'm not going to bother waiting for the shopkeeper, or that you'll wait for the shopkeeper and just, show on your face that you're not happy. So what we've done in that process is we have suppressed our emotion. We pushed it back down because what we haven't done is dealt with it. So to deal with it would be an emotionally intelligent response, which is operating from a place of curiosity. Like, why am I frustrated right now? It's not the shopkeeper's fault. It's not, the traffic jam could give me an opportunity to listen to my radio or to do something. So it's about looking at things from a different perspective. But because we don't necessarily have the time to do that, or we don't want to do that, there could be many reasons why we don't. So when we don't do that, what we do is we suppress those emotions. So then it's like a bank. So that example of the anger, so that's like depositing that into our bank. And then something else will happen. And then again we deposit, and again we deposit. And then what happens is all that anger, the frustration, whatever the emotion is, it starts to build and it starts to accumulate. And that's when we end up with these blockages. I did a separate video on chakra system and the blockages, if you'd like to refer to that. So to avoid that, what we do, or what we should be doing, is processing our emotions. And processing means doing exactly what I said, being curious, looking at this and saying, why am I getting wound up by this? What's happening for me? Because it's something that's going on for you. It's not the external. Yeah, you might have high expectations of other people and you might expect things to run like clockwork, but that's not reality. So the truth is that if you are out somewhere and the waiter gets your order wrong, for example, it's your expectation that's been let down, because you expect that you're in a restaurant, you're paying good money, and you should have your meal as you've ordered it. But the reality is life doesn't work like that. Human error is a real thing until we get to a point where AI is doing everything and we have robotic trolleys and things bringing our food for us and taking our orders and even cooking them in the kitchen. We're still at the stage where we are going to face human error and delays, and things are going to happen. So rather than resisting that, it's about, how can I roll with that? How can I accept that that's a part of life? So if you find yourself resisting external change and things not going your way, it's because something is going on internally. So when I say be curious, it's about asking yourself, what is it that I'm really feeling? Am I actually feeling fatigue? Like when children are tired, they have tantrums, for example, and we'll always say, oh, it's because he or she's tired, they didn't sleep well last night. We don't say they're having a tantrum because that's the way they are. That's their personality to have tantrums. We always associate it with a root cause. And so in the same way for adults, we need to do the same thing. If you find yourself, let's work on a different emotion now. I feel like I've been talking about anger a lot. Let's talk about sadness. Let's say, for example, you feel sad out of the blue, or something happens. Perhaps you watch a film that's sad, or you speak to a friend and she gives you bad news and that's sad. Anyway, you feel sadness. Again, it's about looking at it and saying, okay, first of all, what do I feel? Identify what the emotion is. That's very important. If you can give it a label. Sometimes you can't give an emotion a label because it's complex. It might be a combination of emotions that you feel. That's okay. The second thing is to say, where did this come from? So yeah, it might be that I watched a film or I spoke to my friend, but really and truly, what got triggered? Is it because the film was about somebody who was with their mother, for example, and I am going through a situation where I'm not comfortable in my relationship with my mother, or perhaps I've lost my mother. So trying to understand, it's almost like becoming a detective, but not in an analytical way. I know this sounds really counterintuitive, but we don't want to analyze the mind. What we want to do is experience it. So in Buddhist philosophy, they say, allow your emotions to be there. Emotions are simply energy in motion. And I think in the Western world, we have this thing that we need to have a guard around us, that we need to be guarded. We need to almost have this shield up, and it's not cool to show our emotions. It's not appropriate, perhaps. And actually, the Buddhist philosophy teaches us it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be hurt, or whatever it is that you're feeling. But then recognize, where is this really coming from? You know, a lot of people will joke and say, oh, I feel really wound up at the moment because it's the full moon. I don't really, it doesn't sit well with me when they say that, because it sounds like an excuse, if I'm being honest. It sounds like, and of course the moon does affect our emotions. Of course, everything around us, the stars, the sun, it's all interconnected. But to say I'm having a bad week because of my menstrual cycle, or because of the moon, or because it's only one layer. I'm encouraging you to go deeper and to ask yourself, yeah, but where is that really coming from? What's really going on for me right now? And yes, it might sound like it's being analytical, but it's about feeling your way through the process, not thinking about it. So I hope this makes sense. I would love to hear your comments, your feedback. If there's anything that resonated with you or anything that you disagree with, I'm open to discussion. These are all topics that I'm very passionate about. There's another video that you could watch on chakra balancing, and I go through all of the chakra system. I also have an e-course available about self-love. Self-love is a journey that I've been on myself, and I love sharing it with other people to help people regain their zest for life and that connection with their true self. So if you would like to do one of my e-courses or listen to some of my meditations, visit my website, journeywithnikita.com, and I'm looking forward to sharing more videos with you in future. Please like, comment, subscribe and share. Thank you. Namaste.